What's up, guys? It's Jeff, aka Pumpkin Spice, and today we're going to be looking at the Insurgent team, the loadouts that I use, and basically I'm just going to explain why I use these guns, what kind of attachments I put on them, and so on. After we get done with the Insurgent classes, or the Insurgent team as a whole, there's an addendum. I've put an addendum at the end of the video for security loadouts. There was a bunch that I wanted to change from the original video, and this kind of just stack this on top of that video, and it should work out fine. If there's any contradictions or whatever, just let me know in the comments down below. Also want to put a little PSA out before the video, so let's get to it. Alright, for the PSA, all the new players coming in. If we ask you to do something, especially experienced players, if we ask you to do something, even if, you know, you're playing your class, whatever, however you want to, and we just say, hey, we need you to move over here. Don't do this.
Genesis, if you're gonna snipe, you want to be useful and get near the point?
Yeah, right after the gas fucking gets out, dick.
You get a gas mask.
Get fucked.
I mean, we could always just vote kick him. If you do that while I'm in game and I'm with my team that I usually play with, odds are you're going to get kicked out. We're going to call a vote and we're going to kick you out the game just for not being a team player. It's not like some sort of elitist mentality where, you know, we have so many hours in the game and you don't, so we feel that we know better. It's nothing like that. We have people that play with us that are like level 50. I noticed one player yesterday, he was like, oh, I got to level 50. I was like, oh, I'm like 7 away from 1100. Anyway, it's not that. It's not a thing like that. All right? This is a team-based game. It's a team-focused game. If you're not going to be a team player, odds are you're going to get kicked out. And I don't like the whole dick roll, but if we have to be dicks, we're going to be dicks. I'm sorry. It just has to be said. To everyone else that's playing and being team, awesome. Dude, you guys are amazing. Anybody that's salty at the end of the matches, you know, I don't give GGs out to you. I give GGs to everybody else. Anyway, that's all I got to say on that. Let's jump into the tutorial. Alright. So first up, we're going to look at Riflemen. And the reason why we're going to look at Riflemen is it covers both Observer and Commander as well. And to some extent, Demolitions, but not really. So Riflemen, my loadout for push is... We can start with the FAL. For push, it's going to look something like this. Usually I run a Cobra or a 2x Cobra because it takes up less screen space. So your field of view is wider. You don't have as many gaps, I guess, where you can't see anything. So that's why I usually run one of those. Recently, a buddy showed me that the Mars is perfect. I don't know what it is about the way the sight works, but it works really well with this gun as far as handling recoil, especially if you're going without a foregrip like I do. So that's something to keep in mind. I still don't use it a lot because it blocks my field of view, but every now and then I'll run it just to kind of change things up and switch, you know, make things different, you know. I don't run a foregrip. I just mitigate the recoil with pulling down the mouse. Compensator is going to run on all these guns because your horizontal recoil is kind of really more or less what that mitigates. And horizontal recoil is a lot harder to predict than vertical recoil, so a good rule of thumb is to always run a compensator over a foregrip. That's one of the things that I would kind of change about my last tutorial, is that. And of course, an extended mag. An extended mag, it's going to be needed, like especially in like tug of war modes where you don't have a carrier in that first round. Same rules apply here. You don't have an ammo carrier for tug of war modes, and for, you know, push, you put one on. And a good rule of thumb is to bring smokes instead of 2 grenades. So my other loadout that I use for these 3 classes is the AKM. The AKM, I will run it naked. I won't put anything on it. That's it. I'll run it just like that. I love the iron sights on it. I don't know what it is about the irons, but I love them. That's how I run it. Every now and then I might put a foregrip on it, or a foregrip and a compensator, just to kind of like, I guess, cruise more or less, where I don't have to mitigate recoil as much. But that's really how I run it. If tug of war mode, extended magazine, always extended magazine, because you don't really have to conserve ammo with these guns in these classes, except for the QBZ03, which has a really fast fire rate. The rest of the guns, the fire rate is kind of slow, where you don't have to mitigate your ammo usage. Conserving ammo is a big part of this. If you're playing firefight and you plan on staying for the entire round without dying, it's good to take a lower fire rate gun. That way you don't have to worry about running out of ammo, especially with no backpack. So that's usually all I run. I mean, between the Observer, those are the two best guns for me. I mean, this is going to vary per person. Some people like a faster fire rate, and I do too. But for those two specific modes, if we're talking about thinking about winning, that's what I'll do. If I'm messing around, no, I'll run everything. Let's go to Breacher. Now, I was recording this, and I got halfway through it and realized I wasn't recording. So this is basically my confidence rebuilder. If my confidence is low for whatever reason, I'm missing shots, I'll put a Taz on, foregrip, compensator, flechette rounds, and just go to town. That's what I do. And my guy's scratching his ass right now. For this particular class, I never run without a light carrier. It's all of these guns have a high fire rate, with the exception of the Uzi, and it's hard to mitigate, how much ammo you've used, versus the other guns. So I usually, and especially with a shotgun, you only have so many shots and that's it. So I definitely run a light carrier on this one. That is my little go-to thing. This is my confidence builder. Let's look at the MP5, which is kind of like my next favorite gun in this class. And I'll take that, put a compensator on it, an extended mag in lieu of the foregrip. Because again, high fire rate, 800 rounds per minute. Those magazines go fast. And of course, I'll put a Cobra or 2x Cobra, one or the other on it, if I feel like it. It depends. Sometimes I like the MP5 sights, sometimes I don't. That's just how I roll, I guess, more or less. My main go-to gun right now for Breacher class is the Val. A lot of people don't like the Val. I love it. And I don't run a foregrip. Extended magazine, and if I have extra points to spare, I'll run a sight. Say Domination, if I'm running the Val, I'll have a heavy carrier and 3 Molotovs. So it kind of makes running a sight, impossible. But the reason why I really like this gun as well is that the iron sights are a lot like the AKM. I like the iron sights on that gun. This is what I run for Breacher class. That's just that's it. Of course, we gotta put the paint on there. Gotta put the paint. So next up, we have the Advisor, and this is my go-to Advisor build. This is what I use. We have newer guns now, like the Ace 52, and I am gonna go over the security guns, the new guns for the security team. At the end of this video, I was gonna do 2 separate ones, maybe do a rehash, but I'm just gonna put an addendum at the end of this video, and that way we don't have to have 2 separate videos. You can go to one place and just kind of layer the security information on top of what I've already put out there. There's some things that I'm gonna change. You'll hear me say different, and that's basically how I feel right now. So the idea is to watch the security video first, and then watch this one. That way, whatever I said that's contradictory on there, you layer this video's information on top of it. So I run this. This is what I run. The AK, the Alpha AK is a really good gun. It's lately, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's my recoil management has gotten better. I'm almost confident enough to take this foregrip off, but I'm not quite there yet. I'll probably play a couple dominations later and see how that goes. But this is how I run it. The OKP7, I was just screwing around, put that on there. I do use it from time to time, but I still like my Cobra. My Cobra is it's my favorite sight. That's that's what I run. Extended magazine, of course, if you don't have a carrier. Now for the Ace 52, and the Ace 52 is going to be different from what I run on the Tavor. All right, so the Ace 52, I usually will run a compensator on it. Depends on what role I'm trying to play. Always put an extended magazine. I don't put a foregrip. And the reason why it's not recoil management, and actually you could probably do away with this and put a flash hider, is I use this gun as more or less a mini sniper. If the sniper rolls are taken up and they're not doing the best job, I'll go to this or the SKS. This tends to have better results for one-shot kills. For some odd reason, the SKS, well, it's a smaller cartridge, smaller round, so that would explain why, now that I've clicked on it. But the Ace 52, if you have the points to spare and you can put something else on it, you don't even have to put a flash hider. Basically, extended magazine and whatever sight you want to use to mini snipe with, more or less. Sometimes you need to, they're not in the best position to take out somebody at an angle, and you are. But I really do, I like the iron sights on this gun as well. They're not as obstructive as other ones. And the same, I should have mentioned this too. I do like the iron sights on the Alpha AK. That's another one. My taste have kind of like, they've kind of floated towards iron sights more or less. And that's kind of like my go-to thing if I can. If I can save points on not grabbing an optic, I will. I'm cheap with my points. I like my points to be wisely used. So, that's basically what I do for Advisor. The AKS 74U, the spray on it it's too erratic for me. You're not gonna land all your shots like you want to, it seems like, and I have a problem with this gun and where it's at. I don't think it's really useful, which, I mean, if I would rather this actually be like 2 points instead of the SKS, and make the SKS 3 points, because the SKS is a lot better than the AKS 74U. That's just my opinion. It is what it is. Take it with a grain of salt, but it's how I feel. So that's Breacher. Let's go to Demolitions. Demolition is going to be completely different. This is my loadout for Demolitions. AKM, explosive launcher. That's it. I don't put anything else on there. RPG, 2 smoke grenades. Doesn't matter, frontline or push, and a heavy carrier. Used to be you were able to go back to the ammo box even if you had a light carrier and just grab an extra RPG round or an extra 40mm round for your grenade launcher. They stopped that and tied it exclusively to the heavy carrier. You start with your 2 rounds. You don't have to go to the ammo box now, which is good. I mean, that differentiates the heavy carrier from the light carrier. So I'm liking that for sure. I mean, but that's my loadout for this. Nothing real fancy. No points wasted. I'm geared up and ready to go for push and frontline. So let's look at Marksman. And Marksman, it depends on where I'm at and what I'm doing. Like, say on Hideout, when the when the security pushing on Hideout, for that first objective, I'll go back on B, and I actually sit back there with a flash hider and snipe people on the hill. I'm basically counter sniping, and I can also got a really good perspective, really good view of the back of the objective. So the top of A, I can get anybody that's hiding up there looking down into the first floor, and I can get anybody on the side patio or anybody coming from the left side. So that's the reason why I run the Mosin in specific areas like that. That's really the only time I'll do it, unless I'm memeing. And the same thing goes for the M99. If we don't have a really good demo guy taking out helicopters, I might run the M99, but mostly I only run it for memes. That's really the only reason why I use it. The SVD is going to be my next go-to. And depending on what I'm doing, sometimes I'll run it like this. If we're in firefight, nobody's using the marksman class, I'll actually run it just like this with nothing on it. And if I'm short sniping, like a shorter range, because the difference between the Mosin and the SVD, if you notice, you have armor piercing rounds on the Mosin, you don't have that on the SVD. So the Mosin, the further out you are, you're still going to get one-hit shots, whereas the SVD, the damage falls off. You know, there's a damage drop off at a certain distance, and at a certain distance, I don't know what it is, but it becomes 2 shots. So if I'm sniping pretty far out and it's hard for me to land headshots, especially with moving targets, I will use the Mosin instead of the SVD for sure. But it's just a matter of, I mean, it really doesn't. Flash hider is kind of like, you know, you really want to use a flash hider as a sniper, but it's really just preference. Sometimes I'll run a 7x, but most of the time, as of lately, I've been running the M150. That's kind of like my go-to, and I don't need the 7x as much. You know, I'm not sure why. I just haven't needed it really with this gun. So that's basically what I do for marksman. I'll still always a light carrier because you don't have a whole lot of, you know, ammo, and definitely bring a pistol for close quarters. If you're using like a Mosin with the 7x or even an SVD with the 7x, you definitely want to bring a pistol for, you know, getting on point if somebody's capping it, you're defending. Next up is the gunner. Gunner's straightforward. This is what I do for gunner. The TM62 mine I will put out on the road for push or front line. I'll actually put it out for front line as well, and I'll run a grenade with that. If you like kind of like camp real well traveled, you know, alleyways, you can actually put this mine out and just shoot the top of it and it'll blow up. Really good for handling groups. New wave coming in to kind of like reinforce the point, especially in front line. So this is basically what I use. PKM. You know, the Galil I've started to like kind of like come around to. It's for 2 points. It's actually like a really good gun. I think I am going to be using it more. I used it yesterday on stream, and this was kind of like my loadout. Let me go back. We're going to change all this. Alright, so my loadout yesterday while I was streaming was foregrip compensator, drum magazine, and I had explosives. I mean, it was push. We were attacking, so that's usually if I'm the Galil is it's come to be like a really good gun. I've I've kind of like gone to that side of it. I like it now. And the good point about it is that if you look at the Insurgent's gun versus the security, there's benefits to this gun. So if you're playing domination, pick the Insurgents for. I know it looks dry without the foregrip on it, and then it looks saucy with the foregrip on it. You put the foregrip on it, you know, and you won't be disappointed. It's got I want to say it's better recoil horizontally and vertically than the security variant. And I want to say the penetration is a tad bit higher. We can actually go back and look at that right quick. So I'll save that. We'll go to security and let's go to gunner. I was using this. That's still my loadout that I go to. So if we look at this gun, 316, yeah. The velocity on their gun is a little bit higher, but 333 penetration, horizontal and vertical recoil. And now let's go back and look at this one, and we'll go ahead and just make it naked and look at the gun itself. And 1327, so you got 28. I don't remember what this was, but I'm pretty sure it was. Oh, you do have a higher velocity, 950. And 333. So yeah, this gun, even in domination, is worth getting. If you're gonna pick a Galil, it's better. in all ways except for appearance. And that's all it is. The appearance is not as good. So let's we've looked at all the classes, basically. That is it. That's all the classes. That went by a lot faster than what I thought it would. So even though it's 17 minutes in, let's look at security, what I would change today. And I was screwing around with this, but today I would probably run VHS compensator if I'm feeling spicy. If I'm feeling like, you know, I want to go in there and tear people up, this is what I'll run, just like this. I don't necessarily like the iron sights, but if I'm limited on points that I can use, I'll run the iron sights. If not, I run a red dot. This gun is super fast. It's just as fast as the honey badger, which is also a new favorite of mine, as I found out yesterday. But recoil is really easy to mitigate. Vertical recoil, real easy to mitigate. Your penetration is kind of low, so there's that. But this is what I usually run. So breacher, honey badger, no foregrip, just a compensator, holographic. Of course, 2 frag grenades, depending on what mode it is. Light carrier, of course, because you have a high fire rate weapon. Always good to bring those extra magazines. That'll help you in gunfights. Like I can't tell you how many times that I've gone through the entire carrier, which is nuts to think about it like in those terms. But like even in push or frontline, even in firefight, actually, I've gone through the entire carrier and had no ammo left. So that's basically what I run. But a lot of times I will run it without any sights. I love the iron sights on this gun. They're the same iron sights as on the MK18, which is my other go-to. And that's how I run breacher class. That's pretty much it. That's what's changed. I'll still use the MP7, the MP5, and the M870. I'll use the grease gun occasionally if I'm looking for memes, but you know, that's what I run for breacher. Advisor, what's changed? Yesterday I was using this, but now that we have these other optics in here, I will run a Cobra on it usually with just the compensator, maybe an extended magazine. Depends on what mode I'm playing, of course. Yesterday we were playing Frontline, was the last one that I played, but you know, usually that's all. That's right there. That's it. That's all I have. Nothing else. I don't use a foregrip or anything. Oh, I didn't want to do that. So as far as the Tavor, the way I dress out the Tavor is compensator, extended magazine. Those are 2 musts. All right. I don't use a 2x or anything higher than I'll use a 1.5 occasionally, but this gun performs really well without a foregrip. I'm surprised that it performs that well given the high caliber of ammo. You know, the cartridge that it uses is super high. It's basically the same thing as the FAL, but the recoil mitigation on this gun is phenomenal. It's much easier to control than the FAL is. It's a lot more predictable, and you can hit really tight groups with this gun. If I do pick an optic, the iron sights aren't bad. They're actually kind of like this. I want to say they're the same as the Alpha AK. They're not bad at all. 1.5 is what I'll use if I'm going to do any kind of like, you know, single fire stuff or semi stuff, and I still got to get on point. I'll use a 1.5 or a Cobra, of course. If I have, it depends on how many points are left. Usually I don't have enough points left to put a sight on this gun, so that's how I run it. Marksman, I don't think anything has really changed with marksman, so the old video still applies. Gunner, of course, I don't run the Galil. I run the M40B and use the class how it is. I mean, and that's really all that's changed as far as my opinion of what's used. Now, as far as like the Rifleman Observer and the Commander class, I still do run the G3A3. I still use it. I don't use a foregrip on it anymore. I still just use a compensator on it. Maybe get, you know, a magnified sight or something like that. But I still do run this gun, and as you can see, I still like the fire rate, because if you look at the fire rate for the M4, it's exactly the same, alright? You know, everything is the same. The horizontal and the vertical recoil, it's slightly more, and I don't even think it's really worth it for the amount of points that you're saving by running this gun. You know, you can still run a compensator on it and an extended mag, and then still have enough left over to maybe, you know, if you want to run a heavy carrier or even put ammo on, or even run a sidearm, you can. I don't like the iron sights that well, so I wouldn't have, they're kind of wonky to me. I'm not a big fan of them. But you know, I'd much rather use like a MRO or, you know, holographic or whatever. I use pretty much anything as far as sights go. That's usually if I'm gonna run this, that's what I run. G36. I know a lot of people. I see a lot of people running the M16 A4, and I want to point out the I want to say it's a 2-round burst, not a 3-round. I'm not sure. I know it's a burst, 2-round burst if I'm not mistaken. But that's a killer right off the bat. You know, it's real easy to take down people using that little burst fire. So I would advise, if you're going to pick any of the fully automatic ones, the VHS is a good option if you're like tearing through people, especially on domination. Not really team oriented, but if you're going to like push up with a group, push, I would say more or less is what I would use the G36 for. Because you can, you know, everybody's kind of like going towards one area. Domination is one thing. You know, everybody's kind of like running around. Firefights, a little bit of one thing. A lot of people running around. Frontline and push are more focused on one central area. So I would pick the G36 out of this and the VHS for frontline and push. G3A3 it's just an all-around. If you want to just stop people and you want to stop in power, that's what you go for. But that's going to be it for this. I mean, I know it's kind of long, 24 minutes, but those are the changes that I've made. That's the Insurgent loadouts that I use. If you enjoyed the video, you know, hit like and subscribe down below. Follow me on Twitch. I'm going to be streaming later on today, hopefully. Follow me on Twitter. I post it every time I go live on Twitch on Twitter. You got any questions, you come in there and ask me, and I'll, you know, dole out advice. I have no problem doing that. You know, that said, to all the new players, welcome. Hope you enjoy it. Peace.